Hello, footy fans, and welcome back to the Chip and Chase podcast. It has been a couple of weeks. Of course, we took a bit of time off over the last two long weekends, spending time with family and friends, just getting, a bit away from the footy, Footy, it's great. We love watching it 24/7, and I did watch the games over that time, but it was good to just take a step back and enjoy that time with family and friends rather than just being all footy oriented. I've still got a job. I've still got all these different things. So it was a bit of a shame to not have the podcast and everything up. I certainly did miss it during that time, but I won't say I missed it too much because I enjoyed my time away. But I'm very happy to be back right now, ready to kick into our round 9 review. And of course, round 9 of the NRL Telstra Premiership season was Magic Round, and what a Magic Round we had. Just the refereeing, fantastic. I'm going to get that off the bat, out of the way. The refereeing across the weekend was absolutely phenomenal. It let all the games flow. Every game was great. And just, what a season we're having that, I got 3 tips right this week. And I think 1 or 2 of them might have even been upsets. It's just a season, and especially this week, where any team can win, and it's just making for such a fun season in 2025. So I loved Magic Round. I really wish I could have been there, just seeing the scenes, watching all these games, and just all of the people that you follow on social media and seeing how they got around it. I have to be there next year, so I'm going to make that my goal because God, it looked bloody special this year. But just sitting back and watching the games from home, I thoroughly enjoyed the week. But let's get right into the week, shall we? The first game of Magic Round on that Friday. Yeah, it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We didn't have a Thursday game. The Friday kicked us off with the Sharks and the Eels. The Sharkies getting away with a win in this one, 28-18. Look, I think most people out there sort of tipped the Sharkies, myself included. Was a game that I was confident in, but not massively confident in. I think this Eels side, they're so different with Mitch Moses, back out there. And they were a different side in this. I thought they looked... It's a bit of a hard one to sort of adjust, explain with the scoreline. I thought they looked better than a 28-18 scoreline, but at the same time, 2 of their tries did come with the Sharks had a player in the bin. So the Josh Addo-Carr try in the 60th minute, and then Dylan Brown try in the 62nd minute, both with players in the bin. But this Eels side now, compared to what it was in round 1, it's just it's a far better footy side. Mitch Moses has made such a difference to their side. The way he straightens their attack, the way he frees up Dylan Brown to play his natural sort of running game is absolutely everything to this club. I don't know how that's going to translate, the Dylan Brown stuff to the Knights, but I think we've spoken enough about that. We're just going to have to wait and see how that all goes. But I do worry about how it's going to be without someone like Mitch Moses to let him play his natural game. But in this game, they both were excellent, to be honest. The other thing I thought about the Eels that was really good is they're at their best when they're offloading. And there was a sequence, it was in the second half. It was probably late in the second half. I think it might have even been it definitely was. No, it was the lead up to the Dylan Brown try. There was just a sequence that really epitomized when the Eels are at their best, and it's when they're offloading. So there was a Junior Paulo offload to Jaman Hopgood, and then Hopgood got the offload away to Mitch Moses, who sprinted through the gap with his great speed, who then linked up with Dylan Brown. And that's what the Eels have been at their best over the last few seasons, is when they can do that. And they're sort of, I don't know if they've really had the firepower to be able to pull that off. Of course, players like Ryan Madison, Bryce Cartwright, who that's their natural game. Even Sean Lane at his peak, the offloads, that's their natural game. And they've all, found their way out of this side. So it's probably not the style of footy that Jason Ryles wants this team to play, but I think it still is their best style of play. I thought they're at their best when they were doing that. As I said, not both, but 2 of their 3 tries came when there was a Sharks player in the bin, so it's hard to fully get a read on it. But again, I'm just sort of comparing the Eels to where they were in the early parts of the season, and they are a far better side. The Sharks, they weren't perfect, but they were pretty darn good in this one too. The shapes that they were hitting were just really good. There was the that Britain Nikita try, just the entire shape that they ran for that Nikita try just before halftime, the line that Nikita ran, and just the ball in general was the absolute pinnacle of rugby league. That is everything to me. For me, as a fan, that's rugby league, and I thought that was brilliant. The Sharks, they're building into this season nicely. It's a 10-point win over a team that is sitting right down the bottom of the ladder. But I don't really look at it that way. I thought the Sharks were the better side. They still scored 5 tries in this one. There could have been a few more points in it if Hines hit all of his conversions. Look, they got the win. They move on with this, and I am liking what the Sharks are building. I think they are building into the season nicely. Nicho Hines is playing with a lot more confidence, and he's looking really, really good now. At the start of the season, I was loving their dynamic between Hines and Trindle, and it has been shaky ever since literally like round 1, in my opinion. Trindle is very hot and cold at the moment, had some good moments in this game, had some pretty poor moments, but once they click, this side is a really, really good footy side, and I thought they had a bloody good game in this one. When it comes to standout players for the Sharkies, Will Kennedy, I've got to say him again because he continues to prove why he deserves his place on the Dally M leaderboard right now. I think he's still leading it. I don't know if he picked up points in this game, but I feel like he definitely should have. He's just safe as houses, at the back. And the way he just slips into their shapes in attack is absolutely first class. It's so crazy that we've come from potentially him being dropped out of the side to him being where he is now. Every week when the NRL posts their Dally M leaderboard and it's got Will Kennedy, there's all these comments saying, oh, it's lost its thing. People saying that genuinely have no idea what rugby league is then. If they don't consistently think that Will Kennedy has been one of the best players in this competition this year, they have lost their minds. He has been unbelievable. And sure, the Dally M system, it's flawed. If we want to change it, we can change it. But I don't think there's a system that's going to reward someone like Will Kennedy. Absolutely deserves to be rewarded for how he's playing. And the Dally M leaderboard is reflecting that. Do I think he's the best player in the competition? Absolutely not. Do I think he's having a season that's right up there with the best of any player in the competition in 2025? I absolutely do. I think he has been fantastic. We mentioned sort of briefly how he slips into the shapes in this one. And there was that one, I think it was the Sam Stone Street first try, I want to say. He swung around from directly behind the play of the ball, directly behind the ruck, and chimed in at the perfect time, running on that right-hand side, gets that pass, and I think he put the kick through on that one. And that's the other thing about him. It's not just the way he times his runs and how he chimes into plays perfectly, but he rarely ever makes the wrong decision in attack this season. He caught that ball, summed it up beautifully, put the little kick in behind, deft little kick. Stone Street scored, and there was another one that he did later in the game. I think it was for Stone Street's second, where he again chimed in perfectly at the perfect time into the play, and then this time he hit the cutout ball to Stone Street, who went over to score. I think Will Kennedy has been absolutely brilliant, and he was once again in this game, as I said, fully deserving to be right near the top of the Dally M leaderboard. Other standouts for the Sharkies, I thought all of their outside backs were really good in this one. Stone Street's collecting those 2 tries. He's proving very quickly that he's one of the better finishers in the NRL. Not sure he keeps that spot when Sione Katoa comes back, but we'll wait and see. He's definitely a fan favourite at the Sharkies, and he's still got so much growing to do in his game. Mulatalo, he was really good. KL Iro, of course, changing his name, so it is just KL. No different to how you pronounce it from the original. But yeah, KL Ido, he came back and chimed in perfectly, scoring another try. They love going left. Every single time they look to go right, and I know this is a Ramian owner and super coach, they end up just doing an inside ball back to Nikita and then sweeping left. And in fairness, it works. Ilo, he's been out for a couple of weeks and he comes back and scores. And even when he was out, Mawene Hiroti was scoring tries in his place as well. So it just works for the Sharkies. But another thing I like about their outside backs Here are their meters: 164 meters from Kennedy, 122 Stone Street, 148 Ramian, 144 Ido, and 154 Mulatalo. All five running for that over 100 meters. They're just getting through a good amount of work, easing the pressure off their forwards, who again are doing really good. Like Adam Fanua-Blake, 14 runs, 140 meters. He only played 48 minutes, I think, in this one. Oregon Kafusi, 12 runs, 112. Billy Burns, I thought, was really good in this one as well. I like, since he came in last week, he's looked really good for the Sharkies. 15 runs, 131 metres for him. And Cameron McInnes, 17 runs, 137 metres. I thought McInnes was fantastic. We've mentioned plenty of times about the way he makes his runs and he makes his metres. It's always in and behind the ruck. And it's an art that I don't think many players in the NRL do as good as Cameron McInnes, and it was just really good to see him rewarded with a try in this one too. Very close to our team of the week. We ended up going with Aaron Clark from the Warriors, who we'll talk about a bit later, but McInnes was very close to our lock in the team of the week this week. 33 tackles for only one missed as well from him. Their bench plays, again, always good as well. I think Tom Hazelton actually started this game. 15 runs, 133 metres from him. Hamlin Nuele had some really good charges. Just a lot to like about this Sharkies team. Now, there's still a few areas that they need to pick up. We've been saying that for a while. Everybody's been saying that, but I like where they're heading at the moment. For the Eels, look, we've already spoken a bit about them. It's, as I said, a massively improved team to what they were in the early parts of the season. I like the brand of footy they're playing. I think their defense is still a bit, it's a big worry, in my opinion. There's still way too many leaky parts of their game. Their forward pack, I'm still not convinced on. Jack Williams and Junior Paulo, I like them at front row. They got through big minutes in this one too. Jack Williams, 59 minutes, 9 runs, only 94 metres. And Junior Paulo, 61 minutes, 13 runs, 105 metres. So not massive on the metre count, but it shows that they can get through their big minutes. And I think those, that sort of the props, and still Riley Smith at hooker, who's still growing into his game, that's lockdown. You can leave that there for a while. Hearing rumours Junior Paulo is going to retire at the end of the season. God, I hope not. I still think he's got so much left to offer, and I do wonder where the Eels go when he leaves. Their second rows are the problem at the moment. Now, Kidione Katonga, he's got a lot of upside. He's got a lot of potential. His defence is still very hit and miss. Missed a few shockers in this one. Charlie Geimer, who I really, really like the look of Charlie Geimer. I think, I know he's come through the grades as a second row. I think, to me, he's a lock forward. It's just really hard to move him, into lock forward with Jermaine Hopgood there. Hopgood only 36 minutes in this one. Now, I cannot recall if there was an injury, but if this is what they're doing with Hopgood moving forward, I am very lost about what they're doing there. He's been their best player for the last few seasons, and I know Jason Riles has this big thing, big plans, and get rid of all the old stock. Jermaine Hopgood is not he's not old stock. He's their best player, and if they lose him, it just sets them back so far, to be honest. So I hope there was an injury in here. I don't recall there being one, but you watch a lot of footy, I forget things. So hopefully that's not the standard going forward. But yeah, as I said, a lot to like about the Eels, from where they were. As I said, it's not a great performance, but we're judging them on where they were to start the season. Isaiah Iongi, again, showing that he's an absolute star. 21 runs, 200 metres from him. He goes about his business. He did have a couple of errors. I think one of them ended up leading to points as well, but you just can't fault the effort in a team at the moment. The other man that I was really impressed with was Josh Adokar. He's just one of the best finishers we've quite possibly ever seen in the NRL. Just 9 times out of 10, if there is a half chance, he will finish it no matter what. Any amount of space, he will score that try. Now, he still, of course, has the 100-metre runaway tries with his speed in him. He's no stranger to that. But yeah, he has a lot of these just 10 metres out, he will score a try. 13 runs, 191 metres from him, 2 line breaks, 1 line break assist, 7 tackle breaks, and 2 tries. I thought Josh Adokar was arguably the best player on the field for the Eels, so I wanted to give him his raps as well. But yeah, that one wraps up the Sharkies-Eels game. We're going to quick fire these because I have finished work and I want to get this done and keep, going about the other stuff that I've got to get through my day. The next game, the Roosters defeating the Dolphins 36-26. This was a tip that I went down on. Of course, I've been a big believer in the Dolphins this year. You guys know how much I rave on about Isaiah Katoa. And in fairness, Isaiah Katoa, again, was the best player for the Dolphins in this one, in my opinion. I thought Hamaso Tabuai-Fidow was pretty good. But for me, again, it was Isaiah Katoa. He just kept trying until the very end. Like all of those tries when they made that run at the end, 66th minute they scored, 68th minute and 75th minute they scored. It was all essentially off the back of Isaiah Katoa. I think he's so good. So yeah, I tipped the Dolphins. I was let down again, but at the same time, the Roosters are starting to put together what we know they can. Now, they're missing a lot of players. They have been since the start of the season. We don't need to rehash that, but they're growing into the team that they have at the moment. And there's still a lot of talent in that team. I mean, look at these names. Mark Nawaqanitawase. I'm just looking at the sort of young fellas here, not necessarily all their older ones. Siwa Wong growing into his game very nicely. Mark Nawaqanitawase scoring 2 tries and looking very adept on that wing. Robert Toya, who we're going to have a big talk about in this segment, he was unbelievable in this one, still very young. Billy Smith, all the injuries, still not a whole lot of first grade. He was really good. Nafahu White has been fantastic, and even their bench players are looking really good in this one too. So I didn't even mention Hugo Savala and Sandon Smith, who only played 6 minutes in this one, Sandon. So there's a lot of talent in these young fellas, and they're just finally finding that way to play with them. Now, defense, still not fantastic. I mean, the Dolphins, they were kept pretty quiet for most of the game, as I said, going on that late run. But there's also a lot of attacking power in that Dolphins team. So I'm not going to hold that against the Roosters too much. But yeah, I like the way that they're playing. I think James Tedesco at the moment, he's putting such a captain's knock on. I mean, last year we thought he couldn't get any better. I mean, obviously 2019 was his peak of his powers. But last year he came back and was phenomenal. And this year, with all the outs and whatnot, we're like, well, he's got to regress a bit. Absolutely not. He has not regressed. He's doing everything out there. His stats in this one, I'll just read through them. And this doesn't even paint the picture of how good he was in this game. He was everywhere. 21 runs, 271 meters, 2 line breaks, 2 line break assists, 2 try assists, 10 tackle breaks, 4 offloads, and defensively only made 1 tackle, missed 1 tackle according to the NRL stats, but his positioning in defense was fantastic as well. He actually saved multiple attacking raids with the way he positioned himself. So he is, putting an absolute captain's knock on for the Roosters at the moment, doing some tremendous things for them. Did make our team of the week this week. There were a lot of good fullbacks. Connor Tracy, very, very close to it as well. Even Hammer, putting his hand up for a case on the losing side here. But you couldn't go past James Tedesco in his performance in this game. He was unbelievable. All right, let's talk about the man of the moment, though, Robert Toya. Of course, we mentioned him in round 1, and we had a big piece about it. We even have a post up on the Instagram on Chip and Chase, so if you're not following already, go and do so. But we have the post up that sort of just, it condenses it all into just a post on what we said about Robert Toya and about how talented this kid is. And once again, we get to see it here. Now, he's been quiet, and as he should be. He's 20 years old or whatever, coming off multiple ACL injuries in a team that has been struggling up until the last couple of weeks. He has every reason to have been not setting the world alight. But then you get a game like this, and it's just, you just see the talent that he has. He has been getting better and better each and every game, and then he just absolutely explodes in a game like this. And I genuinely think we'll be seeing more of these like every second week now, or maybe every third week, and then it'll be every second week, and there'll be week in, week out. We'll be getting performances like this from Robert Toya because he is a freakish talent. He just oozes talent. He oozes confidence. When there's the 2 tries he scored in this one, and then there's the assist that he got as well. But when those tries are scored and you watch the slow-mo, they do the camera angles and the replays, and they have that front on slow-mo of how how any player scores, but specifically on how Robert Toya, the way in which he moved during those 2 tries, and as I said, that try assist, it oozes talent. It oozes confidence. He is unbelievable. The way he moves, I genuinely can't describe it much better. He's still growing into his body. He's reacting. He's just playing a natural style of footy. The fend he put into Herbie Farnworth, one of the best defensive, or the two-time back-to-back Dally M Centre of the Year. And Toya, he catches it, and you just watch him eye him up, and he just backs himself against one of the best defensive, best in general centers in our game. Puts that fend into him and just goes along. The offload that he puts in for Mark Nawong and Itawase, unbelievable. Just the sort of solo try he sort of scored from like 20 meters out. Just, if you haven't seen, just go and watch those tries that he scored. And as I said, watch those head-on replays and you can just see, I can't put it better. Words can't really describe it, but just watch. He knows his ability, he's backing his ability, and there's so much ability in there. So I thought he was just unbelievable. For those who didn't quite catch the game and who aren't planning on watching it despite my pleads to do so, his stats for the game were 2 tries, 19 runs, 187 metres, 2 line breaks, 1 line break assist, 1 try assist, 8 tackle breaks. I thought defensively he was really, really good too. 19 tackles with only 2 missed. Again, up against Herbie Farnworth nonetheless as well. So easily made our team of the week. One of the best performances of the round, in my opinion. He was just unbelievable. As we said, Mark Nawong and Itawase, he's looking at home on that wing. I thought Dominic Young was pretty harsh to get dropped the last cut. After I thought he put together 2 at least really good weeks in a row. Young, but you can't keep Nawong and Itawase out of this side. He's so talented. And I think wing is his best position. So 2 tries from him, 19 runs, 138 metres, 2 line breaks and 4 tackle breaks. Thought he was really good. In terms of other standouts for the Roosters, I thought Daniel Tupou had a really good game. I love that he made that break on that left-hand side, and he's quite old. He's never been the fastest winger. He brings a lot in other aspects of the game, but he just burned away from Isaiah Katoa, who, again, isn't slow. And then he found, I think it was Tedesco. No, it couldn't have been. Who did he find backing up? Connor Watson. Connor Watson backing up on the inside, who ran over to score. By the way, Connor Watson at 5'8". I know he started the game at hooker, ended up playing essentially all of it at 5'8" after Sandon Smith was ruled out, with Zach Docker-Clay coming in at hooker. I thought Connor Watson was excellent. I say it every week, so I'm not going to rehash. He's just an out-and-out footy player. I love watching Connor Watson go about his business. Nafahu White, fantastic, as we said. 16 runs, 173 metres from him in only 50 minutes. Victor Radley, I thought, had his best game of the season. Scoring 2 tries is always going to look like that as well. But again, the shape, I love the way him at lock forward, which is where he should have always been. I hate this move that they've had putting him out to second row. But him at lock forward, the way he straightens in the line and passes out the back, it just unlocks the Roosters so much, and they play off the back of that so well. I thought he was unbelievable, Radley. 33 tackles, 0 missed, as well as the 2 tries, and 13 runs for 85 metres. Probably should have been our lock of the week. Again, as I said, ended up going Aaron Clark. The more I think about it, definitely should have been Radley. But again, we'll get to Aaron Clark and talk about him later. But that might have been one I completely slept on. He was unbelievable, Victor Radley. And the last thing I wanted to mention was we were robbed of one of the all-time tries with the Zach Docker-Clay try that was called back. And I'm not saying it was the wrong call. I just feel like we should let it pass anyway, because there wasn't enough evidence, in my opinion, to overturn it. I'm pretty sure it was a try that was overturned. And God, it was good. Just like 14 bloody offloads on the right-hand side, finding its way back to Zach Docker-Clay, who doesn't get many, to be fair. Just a real shame that we had that one taken away from us. But yeah, really, really good win from the Roosters. Over to the Dolphins side of things, I'm quite disappointed. As you guys know, I hold the Dolphins in quite high regard this year. I really like the style of footy that they can play, and I like the team that they've assembled. They just really didn't throw too much at the Roosters until that second half, and then they went berserk for 10 minutes or so, and then that was it. And it's like, if you can do that, why haven't you been doing that? They just let in so many tries. The defense is not really up to scratch at the moment. But then you see their attack, and I'm going to highlight this one specific play. But the entire sequence that led to Hamiso Tabuai Fido's second try, I believe it was. I'm pretty sure it was the second try. But it was unbelievable. And then you sat there wondering, where was this for the first 70, 75 minutes of the game? Why have you waited to pull out prime Cronk Slater Smith plays? And I mean that. If you didn't see that try, it was the big three. It was big three-esque. They couldn't have done it any better than what the Dolphins boys did. It was unbelievable. And they waited 75 minutes to pull that out. And I'm like, why aren't you doing that more often? Like, you will split teams apart 24/7 with that style of play, and they just didn't do it. If you didn't catch that one and you don't feel like going back and watching the highlights of the game, Context Rugby League over on Instagram, they did a very, very good video just sort of outlining that play. So go give them a follow and go watch that video. They do some great things there. If you like the in-depth sort of breakdown of plays, that's the place to be. Context Rugby League over on Instagram, probably on other socials too, but Instagram's where I know of them. So shout out them. But yeah, they did a great breakdown of that play. But it was unbelievable. But as I said, it just sort of, yeah, it makes you wonder, like, if you guys can do that, and as I've said, I know they can do that. They know they can do it. So why weren't they? And I know the Roosters starved them of possession for a long time, but like, come on. You had plenty of time to score tries and you just really didn't. And it's not like the Roosters are a very gritty defensive team this year. They're very much leaking points. There's a lot of spots that you can target and attack, and they just didn't really do that. So I was pretty disappointed in the Dolphins, to be honest. It was, as I said, as a just general fan of neither of these clubs, but as a fan of rugby league, it was an enjoyable game to watch. I loved the attacking footy that was being played from both sides. But yeah, just as someone who believes in this Dolphins side, I was pretty disappointed in that. By the way, stats of Isaiah Katoa, 25 runs of the footy he had in this one, 143 metres, which is second only to Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow with 19 runs and 162 metres. But two of Hammer's tries were essentially runaways as well. So Isaiah Katoa essentially topped the meter count for the Dolphins. And that just, it goes to show how much of a freak he is and how much effort he puts into this side. But it also just goes to show how like the Dolphins forwards that he just didn't get up for this one. And their outside backs, Herbie Farnworth only 104 metres. You expect him 150, 170 around that mark each and every game. The Roosters kept him quiet, but their forwards just, even in the run numbers, like we're looking at 11 runs from Molo, 9 runs from Finafuiaki, 10 runs from Gilbert, 9 runs Nichols, 6 runs Stone, 15 runs Lemuelu, who was the only Dolphins forward to run for over 100 metres. But I'm just like, what's sort of going on there? Again, I know they're starved of possession for a good period of the game, but you just need more out of their forwards, in my opinion. I think losing Daniel Saifiti was actually really big for them in the lead up to this game. There was another player that they lost, Felice Kofusi. So they essentially lost both of their starting front rowers. I know one of them wasn't actually named at front row. I think they were named at lock or something. I don't know. But 2 big outs for him. But yeah, regardless, just a bit of a disappointing game from the Dolphins, in my opinion. Let's move over to the next game. The Newcastle Knights defeating the South Sydney Rabbitohs 30-4. Now, this was a performance I just knew was coming from the Knights. And it's not because they've been good or they've been showing that they're getting there. I think they've been very poor all season and they're showing very little. But I just had a feeling that they had to, like this, there was a do-or-die game. To me, this was the do-or-die game. It was against the Rabbitohs side who has been absolutely decimated with injury, and the hits kept coming for them in this game with injury news. So the Knights had to get up for it. Magic round, like there was just everything pointed towards the Knights' victory in this one. I put in my bet that I had Knights winning 13 plus, which they did. I had them keeping the Rabbitohs to less than 3 tries, which they very much did, with the Rabbitohs only scoring 1, which lines up with the Knights have been really good defensively this year. It's just their attack that has been abysmal. And the one thing that let me down on the bet was I had Kalen Ponga to score a try, which didn't happen, which was a shame. So we didn't get that one up for the tips and bets post, but that's all right. I think I'm pretty happy with just calling this game and how it ended up being in the first place. But yeah, I thought it was a really, really good performance from the Knights and something they can build on to build into the rest of their season. It did help that they had their full sort of team back on deck for this one. Jacob Saifiti especially, I thought he made a huge difference to this side. You know, we talk about their forwards and they're very light on, and as soon as they have one injury, it's like, who's next man up and can they really stand up to it? And I don't think they can. So it's really, you really need your Leo Thompsons and your Jacob Saifitis to stand up when they're in the side. And I thought both of them did really well in this game, but especially Jacob Saifiti. In only 47 minutes, Saifiti had 18 runs, 210 meters, 3 tackle breaks, and 26 tackles. I thought he was unbelievable, to be honest. Every single run, he was making like 15 meters a run, just bending the line back. It ran with so much vigor. I thought he was fantastic. He made our team of the week. Loved what Jacob Saifiti brought. And I think his energy, it just radiated. Not necessarily it was all him, but the way he performed was just how the Knights performed in this game. I thought Jack Cogger was another man that he sort of epitomised this new Knights team, like this Knights team in this game compared to where they have been for the previous weeks this season. So there was one time with Jack Cogger where it was Dylan Lucas, I think, over to the left-hand side, and he's got the ball and he's sort of come off the left foot and he's bouncing around. He's just sort of crabbing across field, looking for an option. And in previous weeks, no one has given anyone an option at the Knights. If somebody starts crabbing across field and just waiting for someone to make a run, nobody makes a run. But in this game, they did. And the player who did it was Jack Cogger. It's the halfback of the Knights who sprints up, and Dylan Lucas finds Cogger and Cogger goes over to score. And I think that just epitomised the Knights' effort. It epitomised Jack Cogger's effort. The fact that your halfback is the man sprinting up to make that run in the line. Everyone gets around that. I thought this was easily his best game of the season, in my opinion. I really liked the way in which he played. Controlled the game very nicely. Freed up Kalen Ponga and, of course, Fletcher Sharp, who was the star of the show in this one. But, yeah, liked a lot of what Jack Cogger did. While we're here, Fletcher Sharp, you guys know he's one of my absolute favourites. He's a Cessnock boy. Just watched him coming through the grades. Loved everything about his game. Everything. Genuinely one of my favourite players coming up through the grades. And here he is. I knew he could be a 5'8", but I didn't think it was what the Knights needed heading into this season. It wasn't until I saw how they played in the trials that I was like, okay, he's that good already that he can make this work straight away. And in fairness, he has been really good for the Knights all season. The Knights' struggles, and when they've been shit, which has been almost all season, hasn't been Fletcher Sharp. I think he's looked good essentially all the time. But the way that they played their footy in the early parts of this season wasn't at all what they look like when they're playing their footy in the trials, which is when I thought that they would make this Fletcher Sharp 5'8" thing work. But he's just so special of a footy player that he can make it work, and he has made it work at such a young age. Again, not saying that he's playing out of position. To me, fullback is still his best position, but he's very, very adept in the halves. He's always been a sort of a 5'8" the halfback growing up. And in this game, he was unbelievable. So his stats, 10 runs, 103 meters, 3 line breaks, 3 tries, 4 tackle breaks. Of course, 31 tackles as well, by the way. This young little fella in the front line, 31 tackles, 2 missed. He is an absolute freak. I cannot stress enough how much I love Fletcher Sharp. Top 5 at worst, at most, at worst, whatever you want to call it. Favorite players in the comp for me. I love everything about him, and yeah, the way he played in this one is so big. It's what the Knights need, and it's not like they need this guy to be the one that has them stand up and they get around him. But when he is doing it, how can you not get around him? When your young rookie is doing this for essentially a hometown club, how can you not get around him? So I thought he was unbelievable. Of course, another man who made our team of the week over on the Instagram. But yeah, just Fantastic. Beyond that, look, there's heaps of names that we can mention, but I'm not going to go through everyone. I do want to highlight the entirety of the Knights outside backs. So I'm going to read through their stats here. James Schiller, 16 runs, 253 metres. He did have a couple line breaks in there. 2 line breaks, 7 tackle breaks. But again, 253 metres. Dan Gagai, 21 runs, 209 metres. Bradman Best, 22 runs, 219 metres. Greg Marju, 22 runs, 220 metres. All 4 of their outside backs ran for over 200 metres. We mentioned the Sharks boys earlier, all running for like 130, 140 plus. For all 4, all the centres and all the wingers to run for over 200 metres is unbelievable. And again, it's against a Rabbitohs side that is well and truly just decimated in injury. But you can only play what's in front of you, and I thought all of them played outstanding games of footy. Greg Marju, 10 tackle breaks as well. Bradman Best, 1 line break assist, 1 try assist. Dan Gagai, 2 line break assists, 1 line break. Thought they were fantastic. Callum Ponga, really, really good as well. Finally getting back into a bit of his best form. 16 runs, 134 metres, 2 line break assists and 2 try assists as well, 3 tackle breaks. Beyond that, as I said, Leo Thompson was really good. I loved what he did in the middle. Dylan Lucas, fantastic. Kai Pearce-Paul, good. Tyson Frizzell at lock was really damaging with his runs. Just everyone in this Knights team stood up, and as I said, it was a week that they needed to. It was do or die for them, and I thought they were fantastic. For the Rabbitohs, now, I'll say one more time for good measure. I will give them sympathy, and I understand that there's not too much that they can do at the moment. They are completely ransacked with injury. I've not seen an injury crisis like this for quite some time, and it just got worse. Like Jai Gray also got injured in this one, and he's been their best player all season. So I'm giving a lot of sympathy there, and I'm not discrediting their season based on this performance. This performance doesn't reflect how they're going to perform for the rest of the season, in my opinion. In saying that, just this performance alone, they were really, really poor. Even with all their outs, they just had really poor discipline. They had really, really poor defensive resolve. Like, they were very brittle in defense. They let the Knights through on multiple occasions when they were defending their line. They really offered nothing. And as I said, every time that they had a chance to put something together, they'd make an error or they'd give away a penalty, and it was just really poor. So as a game, just really poor from the Rabbitohs, but as I said, I'm not going to put that on the club as a whole, and I understand why it may have been such a poor game for them. In terms of, there's not really too much more to say about them. It's like you can't put this on the rest of their season because, like, geez, half this side isn't even going to be in there when it's their full strength side. But yeah, it's just calling it what we see. In terms of standouts, I thought Jai Gray once again was excellent in a team that showed very, very little. 16 runs, 163 metres, only 58 minutes, remember, as well, before coming off that with that injury. He, as I said, when the Rabbitohs were very brittle in defence, they let through a lot of attacking raids. Jai Gray was the man who would save them almost every time, just making that one-on-one tackle at the back, no matter who was up against. And keep in mind, he's tiny, and he always made that tackle. I thought Jai Gray was really, really good before he came off the field. Beyond that, not a massive amount. I thought Campbell Graham, he stood up. He kept doing his work. 16 runs, 186 metres. Ewan Aitken, he was solid. Sort of where it all lies. Jai Arrow, I liked him. I've always preferred him in the middle, and I liked him back in this lock forward role. Of course, Lachlan Hubner, Liam LeBlanc, they sort of end up filling in that lock forward role, like in the middle, whatnot as well. And I like the work that they do, but for me, Jai Arrow is still the best player in the middle there. So Jai Arrow's stats as well: 53 minutes, 15 runs, 148 metres, and 40 tackles. Of course, 4 missed, but 40 tackles. Tallis Duncan as well, 43 tackles from him, 147 metres, 14 runs from him as well. Thought he was quite good. But yeah, just lots of missed tackles across the board. I'll go through the entire team, and I don't want to spend too long on this side because it doesn't deserve to be bashed pillar to post. 3 missed tackles from Gray. I'm not going to hold that against him. He was really good. One missed tackle Bentley Harpe, not bad. One missed tackle Aitken, not bad. Two missed tackles Graham, not bad. Two missed tackles Tass, not bad. And then it goes to 3 from Sullivan, seven from Kepi, which is just not good enough. 9 from Mamazelos, not good enough. 5 from Totola's not good enough, in my opinion. 2 from Kaloa Matongi, who made 35, so that's can be forgiven. 3 from Tallis Duncan, who made 43. 4 from Dry Arrow, who made 40. It's just a lot of missed tackles across the board, and they're not all equal, but it just goes to show just how brittle their defense was. But I'm sort of just going to leave it there for the night for the Rabbitohs. As I said, there's not too much more that can be said, and I don't want to harp on too much about this side because I think they're a much better footy side when they're at full strength, which they're far from at the moment. So hopefully they can get their troops back soon, and we can start seeing them play some good footy again. Let's move into the game of the round, and I'm not just saying it because I'm a Warriors supporter, but far out what a game this was. The Warriors defeating the Cowboys 30-26. This was that game. I tipped against the Warriors. Full disclosure, I tipped against us. And in fairness, there is a bit of a theory that I essentially always tip against us because then if they lose, I'm happy. Well, I'm not happy, but I'm a little bit happier because I got my tip right. But if they win, I got my tip wrong, but my team wins. So there's always a little bit of that in there. But just seeing them in this game, this was the game I'm like, if we get up for this one, like I know we've beaten the Broncos, which was a great win. I know we beat Manly, which was one of our better wins. This was the time I'm like, if we can knock over this high-flying Cowboys team off 4 in a row in Brisbane, like in Magic Round, this is where I know that we can be a real deal this season. I just need to see that, and I did. But we didn't score another point in the second half. Let's get that out of the way. All 30 of our points came in the first half. 28 came in the first half, and then we hit a penalty goal in the second. But all our tries came in the first half. We didn't score another point in the second. Well, the Cowboys went 55th, 58th, and 62nd minute in the second half. So the second half from the Cowboys, they were on a comeback, and that's what made the game really entertaining to watch. But for me, it was just about how we attacked in that first half. Now, I don't really care that we went to a shell or we had a poor second half or whatever we want to call it. I saw so much in that first half in attack to know that our shapes are working, our players are getting confident. Luke Metcalf is just looking fantastic. He had a bloody day out in this one. Of course, made our team of the week, but we'll speak about him again soon. I saw everything I wanted to see from our attack in that first half. And in defense in the second half, I know we conceded 3 tries and the Cowboys were on a comeback. I still saw more than I wanted to see in defense despite that scoreline. We were scrambling for everything. If the Cowboys, which again are a very good attacking side, if they made a break, if they made something, which they did, they threw up some really, really good shapes out there. That there's the Purdue try that they scored in that. It would have been the first half, to be fair. The shape that they ran for that was unreal. Jeremiah Nanai runs a line and hits a hole that is so special. He cuts off his right at the last second and goes through a hole, and then Purdue with his speed pushes up and they go on to score that one. Like, the Cowboys, they have so much attack in them. It was the way that when these things happened and when breaks were made, players track back. There was a Murray Talangi try in the second half, which he did score, but we almost tackled him out. I think it was Tane Tuapiki, might have been someone else, but it went up as a no try. It turned out he actually scored because he's a bit of a freak, Murray Talangi. But again, we were there. We tackled him right at the depth. Could have been a no try almost. Then there was one that was called back, which essentially saved the game where Murray Talangi, where they make that break again on the left-hand side. They link up with Murray Talangi. He goes over, but it's Luke Metcalf just sprinting back, and he makes that try-saving tackle to essentially save the game. And those are the efforts that can win premierships. And I'm not saying we're winning a premiership this year. I don't think we will. I still think that there's so much to work on in our game. But we are now sitting top 3 in the league. We're 6-2 or something, I think. And we haven't played our best footy yet. So I am loving what I'm seeing from the Warriors. I thought our defense, as I said, was incredible. I loved the we defended the line for long periods of the game, and we were so gritty in doing that. And as I said, lots of scrambled defense. Even when the Cowboys had the wind in their sails, we were just turning up, and that's what I love about this Warriors side. So loved all that. In terms of standout players, as I said, Luke Metcalf was the star of the show in this one, and he's showing that not only that halfback jersey is his, but he's just turning into one of the better halfbacks in the comp, and he can be our long-term halfback moving forward. There was, of course, the try saver, the game saver, if you will, but beyond that, 11 runs, 162 metres, 2 line breaks, 2 line break assists, 7 tackle breaks, and 2 tries from our halfback. He was unbelievable. Defensively, fantastic. Kicking game was really solid as well. Chanel Harris-Tavita hasn't got any of the love he deserves this season with Luke Metcalf. He is the perfect foil for him. His defense is so fucking good. He's one of the best defensive halves in the comp. Scored another try in this one as well. Just everything about Chanel I'm loving. 2 try assists, 2 line break assists from him in this one. Our outside backs, they put in work. Pompey with the intercept try, loved that. Charles Nickel-Kluxdale with another 20 runs, 180 metres because he's the GOAT. Couple of uncharacteristic errors from him in this one, but I'm not going to hold it against him because I love him. And then our forwards, Marata Niokore in the middle I'm loving it. Again, stats don't tell the story of how good he was. Only 8 runs, 81 metres. He was fantastic. Mitch Barnett, 13 runs, 134 metres, 46 tackles from him at prop. Fantastic. Kurt Capewell, 7 runs, 61 metres. And again, this just goes to show that stats don't tell the story because I'm about to read his tackles. 29 tackles, 10 missed. Now, some of those missed tackles were fair misses. But when he was moved into the centres after Rocco Berry went injured for the final 20-odd minutes of the game, the Cowboys went at him all game. And I thought he stood up so well. He would rush up when needed to, and he'd have just enough pace that people don't realise that he's got a good turn of pace, Kurt Capewell. They'd try and get around him, especially with the speed of Purdue, and he'd recover enough to get enough contact to either tackle them or slow them down and bring them down for somebody else to do it. So some of the missed tackles were efforts like that. I thought he was really, really good in defense, and that just goes to show that stats just do not tell a full story because 10 missed tackles is diabolical when you look at numbers, but I thought he was really good, Kurt Capewell. Also made the line break and assist to, I think it was Metcalf's first try. Like a Halasima, played the full 80. Now, I apologise to Reese, Tandy's late mail super coach, because I said Halasima wouldn't from what I knew of what the Wales were throwing out this week. I didn't think Halasima was going to play the 80, but I'm so happy he did. He's a gun, and we just need to lean into him. 15 runs, 145 metres from him, 35 tackles. Leave him out there for 80 for the rest of the season. He is our long-term second rower. Aaron Clark. Now, this is the man that we had at in our team of the week, and maybe should have been Radley. I'll leave you this up to you guys to decide. Not that I can change it in retrospectively, but 69 minutes Aaron Clark played, 23 runs, 204 metres, 81 post-contact metres, no tackle breaks in there, or 1 tackle break, no line breaks. It's all just him doing his thing. 9 passes. He was really great as a link man. 38 tackles, 0 misses, 0 ineffective tackles, 100% tackle efficiency. He's been arguably the buy of the season. He's definitely the value buy of the season. I'm in awe of the work that he's doing out there. The fact that we lost Tohu Harris, we lost Dylan Walker, and it's not even respectfully to those 2 players, it's not even noticed with how good Aaron Clark is playing. So I thought he was unbelievable in this game, and I think he's been unbelievable all season. I love what he's doing out there. Beyond that, for the Warriors, as I said, essentially everybody played well. Poor Bunty only got on there for 11 minutes, had 1 run for 10 metres. My absolute goat, Bunty Afoa. I love him. Made 17 tackles for 0 misses in that 11 minutes on the field. So he's so good defensively, and he has... I don't know why we don't give him more game time, because defensively he's fantastic. His runs off the back fence are great, and he actually has a really solid passing game. One of my favourite players as well in the comp. I want him to have more time in the side, but with the way we're going, I can't knock how we're going. Lastly, Edward Cossey, really good. And Sam Healy made his NRL debut for the Warriors off the bench. Young hooker who he bought from the Sharks. He's a fantastic player. Only got 14 minutes, but he looked really good in that 14 minutes. Almost set up a try as well, a pretty special try. But yeah, really congratulations to Sam Healy. What a win to make your debut in. So fantastic to see. For the Cowboys, their first half wasn't great, but again, they came up against a Warriors side that was going at full tilt. Their second half was really good, so I'm not going to hold this performance against them too much. As we've said, the Warriors are a top 4 team in the NRL as it stands, and the Cowboys are very much building into this season. They started very, very poor. They had 4 wins in a row. If they won this game, I wouldn't have been surprised. And with how the game played out, I thought they were going to. They had the momentum. They had the wind in their sails. They were coming home strong. Not to be, but I don't think it was a poor performance from the Cowboys. I think there's definitely areas that you can improve upon, but I like the way that they played their footy. They're a very entertaining team to watch, and they've got so much about them in attack and defense, despite scorelines suggesting otherwise, that I love seeing as a fan. In terms of their standout players, I mean, all of them really. There's not too many players in this side that had shockers. I mean, Jake Clifford, I don't think he had a shocker at all, but the intercept he threw to Adam Pompey was a bad one right on stroke of halftime. But besides that, I thought he was good. Scott Drinkwater, 15 runs, 136 metres, 1 line break, 3 line break assists, 3 try assists, 5 tackle breaks. Robert Derby scored a try, had 18 runs for 176 metres. Jackson Purdue scored a try, and you guys know how much I rave on about him. I love him. Viliami Vailea, 11 runs, 104 metres. Murray Talangi, 20 runs, 224 metres, 1 try, and as I said, was very close to another that was taken back with the Metcalf try save. 2 line breaks, 7 tackle breaks from him. Dearden, excellent to try himself. 11 runs, 87 metres, and we know how good he is in defence. And their forwards, Jason Tamalolo for me was unreal. 18 runs for 209 metres, very close to our team of the week this week. Only 2 tackle breaks and they're no line breaks. It's just the work he gets through. He's still so hard to tackle. Only 45 minutes as well. So to run for 200 metres in 45 minutes is pretty damn impressive. Jeremiah Nanai, we already spoke about. We gave him a huge rap. I think when they dropped him to the bench and now they've brought him back in, it was the best thing for him. He's come back a completely renewed player. Loved what he was doing as well. And Cohen Hess, I thought, was really good as well. As I said, it wasn't a poor performance from the Cowboys, in my opinion. They went up against a good footy side and they had a good performance and they very close to winning this one. If either side wins this one, I'm saying the same things for both sides, in my opinion. I would have been more disappointed in the Warriors because, you know, they had the big lead and they would have let it slip. But I still think it's good performances from both sides, and I think they will both see finals. I genuinely think both of these teams now will see the finals at the end of the year. But let's move on to the Tigers and the Dragons. The Tigers winning this one 34-28. I tipped the Dragons in this one. So another one I went down on. Dragons, again, you guys know if you listen to these podcasts, I've been quite high on the Dragons this year. I like their squad balance. I like the way that they were putting together their plays in the trials, and they've had some really good performances in amongst it all. Unfortunately, they're just not consistent. Like this Tigers, they're a good footy side this year. There's every chance they play finals footy. In fact, either of these sides could still play finals footy. I'm not ruling the Dragons out of it as well. But the Dragons, respectfully, shouldn't be leaking 34 points to the Tigers. And I don't really know how or why they are. I still look across their board. I look across the way that they're playing. I look across stats at the end of games. I'm like, where's it going wrong? I don't even have the answer to it. I like the way that they're playing, but something is not really working. Jacob Little, again, in this game, came off the bench and scored 2 fucking tries and almost set up another where He made great run and he offloaded it to Kyle Flanagan, who ended up making the full break. And then Flanagan threw it over the top to Sloan, except it actually just went straight over the sideline. It was a horrible pass. But like, Jacob Little essentially scored two and almost assisted another. And he was only on the field for, I actually don't know. Let's have a look at the stats. I assume not a massive amount of time. Pretty sure he came on just before halftime. Where are we? Jacob Little, 46 minutes. So he's playing majority of games now. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't know what they're doing. Like, I don't know how to get the best out of him. I thought Damien Cook was solid. Like, I don't think he was poor at all at hooker, but I don't know what they need to do to get the best out of their players. Their forward packs, I like to have their leaning into these young fellas. Hamish Stewart in 48 minutes at lock forward. And I thought Jack DeBellin, by the way, was really harsh to get dropped to the bench, not from the side, but just to the bench in general. I thought DeBellin was one of their better players. Hamish Stewart comes in and scores one try in 48 minutes, 7 runs for 73 metres, and makes 41 tackles for 2 missed. He looks like a bloody good player. Dylan Egan, another young fella who goes in, scores a try in his 73 minutes, 9 runs for 76 metres, 40 tackles, 0 missed. Toby Couchman, we've been singing his praises all year. 45 tackles and 0 missed from him at front row, 12 runs for 92 metres. So, like, there's still so much in here. Again, I'm looking at this team. I'm looking at how they played. Valentine Holmes, 20 runs, 258 metres, 1 try, 1 line break, 8 tackle breaks. He was excellent. Moses Sully had a good game. Clint Gutherson had a good game. Where's it going wrong? I'm not entirely sure. I thought Lycan King Tongia, I thought he was really good in his, I don't think his debut. I'm pretty sure he debuted last year, but in his first game of this season, 12 runs, 93 metres, 1 line break, 2 line break assists, 2 try assists from King Tongia. Thought he was fantastic. And I know Ilias had a unbelievable game in New South Wales Cup 2, and I still think Ilias is a first grade player when he can sort it all out. But you can't take it away from liking King Tonga after that performance. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a really interesting one for the Dragons. I think they've got a couple injuries and suspensions on the back of this. I think Emre Gula is out, either injured or suspended. So they're going to bring in more players. I hope they keep leaning into the young fellas and give Loco Pacifici Tonga a go. He is an absolute weapon. And Jacob Halangahu is a player that we covered extensively last year in our podcast on the I can't remember what they're called, SG Ball and what's the other one? Harold Matts? One of those two. Grand finals. Halangahu is an absolute weapon. They've still got these young fellas to come into the side. There's a lot to look forward to from the Dragons, but yeah, there's games like this that are just tough. We have to mention it, but the Jaden Sewer drop ball over the line that then swung into a 100-metre effort from Jareem Buller, who scores a try. I mean, it sort of sums up the game, doesn't it? What can you really say? Look, and I say, I don't know where the areas that are wrong, and I don't want to put it down on players specifically, but you can outline certain moments. Their discipline in general was poor. Their defense was just really poor. There's a few ones that I had noted down. There's the Sloan attempted tackle on Charlie Staines, which he just may as well have not have been there. He didn't even try. It was fucking disgusting. It was so bad. And the shame is that Tyrell Sloan seemed like he got this out of his game. He's been playing some really good footy this year. And then attempts in quotation marks like that come back around and you're like, well, we're back to square one, aren't we, Tyrell? That was awful, and Staines went in to score that try. There's the Emre Gula drop ball about 3 minutes out from half time. Awful. And the Jaden Sewer drop over the line into length for the field try. It's just, yeah, like they have so much talent and they can play such good footy, but they consistently find ways to lose games. They're inconsistent, but in a way they're bloody consistent because they keep on doing this. This is what the Dragons are at the moment. They're just consistently finding ways to lose games. And, it's just a tough one. As I said, they have enough there. They can turn this around. I believe in this side. As I said, I thought Hamish Stewart was bloody excellent, despite me thinking that Jack DeBellin was harshly dropped to the bench. Hamish was unbelievable. We mentioned Jacob Little already. We've mentioned heaps of these players. And I will say for Jaden Sewer about that knock on, he still had a decent game beyond that. Like, it's a very big blight on a game, and you can't live it down. But he was the only Dragons forward besides Luciano Leilua, who was also really good when he came onto the field. But those two players were the only forwards to run for over 100 metres, 125 metres from Sewer in 14 runs, one line break, one tackle break, 28 tackles, 0 miss. So, like, he had a good outing besides that just huge moment. But let's move over to the Tigers, shall we? Because we are spending way too long on this podcast. The Tigers, another huge win for them. They are looking more and more likely to play finals footy. They look like a top 8 team. The way they're just so settled in how they play their footy. Their 1-17 is so settled. I don't think the bench of the Tigers has changed once all season. Talon Silver, only 14 minutes in this one. He's getting less and less, despite the fact I like how they've been using him. But yeah, Royce, we've mentioned their bench so many times. Bird, Fainu, Hunt, and De Silva are just perfect on the bench. I'm loving their forward pack. Fanua Pole especially. You know, he's been sort of lost in the noise of Terrell May's monstrous season, but far out, Fanua Pole is having a fucking year. 58 minutes in this one, 14 runs, 126 metres, and 21 tackles. This is one of his quieter, in quotation marks, games. Like, every single week he's been putting up fantastic games. But every run that he has, he just bends the line. I love how he's playing. And of course, you know, as I said, he's lost in the noise of Terrell May, and rightly so in a way. Terrell May is having a season that we've never seen. 76 minutes again from a front rower, 17 runs, 164 metres, 5 tackle breaks, probably 100 offloads, 3 offloads. And where's the tackles? 38 tackles, 3 missed. He is a monster. But yeah, I thought Fanua Pole has been good. And as I said, just this Tigers team, 1-17, it's a fucking footy team. Jareem Buller, another one that's sort of been lost in the noise this season. I don't think anyone is really speaking about how good Jareem Buller has been. I am loving how he's playing. I think every week he's just getting better. And last week he had a sort of not so much down year, but was very quiet compared to how he was in his debut year of 2023. But this year, he's been so good, and he was again in this one. He's so safe at the back. Again, that's something that's he's not being credited for. He's, you know, when you're safe, you don't really get any of the accolades. When you're good in defense, you don't get the accolades. It's just what you do on attack. In an attack, 19 runs, 271 meters, 1 try. I mean, again, boosted from the 100-meter runaway try from the Jaden Sewer knock-on, sure. But I thought he was unreal in defense. He's so good with his speed at covering breaks and play. Like, we mentioned the little offload into Flanagan break, and then Flanagan fucks it up. The way it's fucked up because Jareem Buller sprints across with his speed and covers that space that shouldn't, you know, it should have been space. Either Flanagan should have scored or he should have found Sloan to score. But because of Jareem Buller's speed, he's able to cover that space and make it difficult and put the pressure on and save that try. I thought he was unbelievable in defense. He's really safe. And as I said, in attack with his speed and even his passing game is coming on leaps and bounds. I think Jareem Buller has been really good this season. As I said, someone who's been lost in the noise of everything else in this Tigers season. And there's a lot of noise, good and bad, in this Tigers team. But yeah, Jareem Buller deserves his flowers. Beyond that, it's just, as I said, it's such a good footy side, top to bottom. I'm loving everything from this team. There's no players that are looking poor. Like Adam Dewey, 6 runs, 34 metres. Any other day, you think that's a really piss poor effort. And in fairness, I still think he can put a lot more numbers than that, and I'd like to see more out of him. But what he's doing in defense, what he is doing when he does touch the football, is very solid. He's kicking well. He scored another try in this one as well. I love Adam Dewey. I don't know. It's just I'm really liking this Tigers team. from top to bottom, it's just a polished team. Can it win a premiership this year? Probably not, no. But I don't see why, like, next year it can't. In saying that, this probably is the year they need to, while they've got Galvin. Maybe they can do it with Latu Fanu. But when I look across the board, are there players that I can look at it in each position and say, you need to upgrade that position to win a premiership? Not really. I think they can win a premiership with players in this position and playing the footy that they are. There's a lot more improvement, but I'm loving the way that they're playing. Let's move on to the Titans and the Bulldogs. Sorry, I might not have given the Tigers enough time there. Spent too much time on other teams, probably the Warriors, and that's my bad. Put my hand up for that. But yeah, loving what the Tigers are putting on this season. The Bulldogs defeat the Titans 38-18. Thankfully, this was a tip that we got right. I did believe in the Titans to put a bit more up with a Bulldogs team that was missing Viliami Kikau, Matt Burton, and Josh Curran. And Belly Haywood was out there. It didn't feel like he was out there. But yeah, we'll get to, we'll start on the Titans before we give the Bulldogs their flowers. The Titans, I don't know. I genuinely don't. They're really bad. They're really, really bad. And they've got so many good players. Bo Fermor made our team of the week this week in an effort in like a team that is doing nothing. They had 2 sin bins. One of them was to Brian Kelly, who, respectfully to Brian Kelly, might need to stay off the field. He's a bloody good player. I have a lot of time for Brian Kelly. When he's on, he's a good player. But defensively, he has been so poor this season and was really, really bad in this one. I don't know what they do. Maybe Jojo Fafita moves into the centres. Philip Sammy, I think he's already in the centres. Hell, AJ Brimson back to the centres. I don't know what they do, but for me, I don't think you can keep Brian Kelly just with the way that he's playing at the moment in there. I think maybe just to kick up the arse is what he needs, a drop back to reserve grade, find his footing, and then come back. Because as I said, he's so talented. He is an NRL player, and when he's at his best, he's so good. But at the moment, he's really just playing poor, plain and simple. But it's not just him. It's this Titans team in general, and I don't know what to say about it. They were pretty immediately on the back foot in this one. Tom Weaver was knocked out 4 minutes into the game. They're obviously already without Campbell. They're without Foran, who they will get back this week, I believe, which will be a massive in for them. But losing your game-organising halfback instantly and then being forced, I think Chris Randall played in the halves after that. So AJ Brimson and Chris Randall are your halves. Respectfully to both those players, especially Chris Randall, it's a tough gig going up against the top-placed Bulldogs. So, they have excuses, but yeah, I just want to be seeing more from them in general because I love the Titans. They're my second team. Love the Gold Coast. They sort of came into the competition when I was really getting into it as a young fella myself. Love the Gold Coast, as I said. Love their colours. Love their logo. Love just the way that they've always played footy. Some of my favourite players. Scott Prince is one of my favourites ever. Presto. I love the Titans, man, and I want to see them doing well. I don't know what they need to do either. It's just... I liked the idea of Jaden Campbell and Brimson in the halves. I'm starting to think one of them needs to be fullback in Keeney's absence, but then when Keeney comes back, you fuck everything up. So I don't really have the answers for the Titans. It's just I want to see them click soon because I'm very happy to say that the competition is much better when the Titans are doing well because they're so fun. But let's talk about some of their standouts. As I said, there's not much more that we can really touch on negative-wise. It's what's been said has already been said. Positive-wise, Mo Fotuaika, I really liked how he played in this one. He had some really hard hit-ups out there. Played 61 minutes, increased minutes for Mo out there. 14 runs, 136 metres from him. 41 tackles, 0 missed, 0 ineffective. I thought he was excellent. I want to see more of this from Fotuaika. They're going to need more of this from him if they to do much more. Unfortunately, Regan Campbell-Gillard in 65 minutes still wasn't doing a whole lot. 11 runs, 89 metres from him, 37 tackles, 2 misses. It's not bad numbers, but they brought him there so they can move Tino into lock forward and they can have all these different rotations, and none of it's really working at the moment. So I want to see more from Regan Campbell-Gillard. I think the Titans need to see more from Regan Campbell-Gillard. Chris Randall, I like what he's doing. You know, obviously played at half in this one, didn't get to do a whole lot, but he's a good footy player when you actually get him in his positions. Bo Fermor, we mentioned, 14 runs, 131 metres, 1 line break, 5 tackle breaks, 35 tackles and 2 tries. He was by far their best player, and as I said, made our team of the week. Tino Fa'asuamaleaui, we mention him every week. One of the best. He's their best player all season, and he can't be doing much more. 66 minutes, 21 runs, 168 metres, 4 tackle breaks, 41 tackles made, 3 offloads. He even had that chip and chase, which ended up being a try. I think they even gave him a try assist in Supercoach, which was nice as an owner, but wouldn't call it a bloody try assist. I'm sure he claims it at the club. And you know what? Fair play. His little chip and chase, that was great. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. As I said, I don't know what more I can say about the Titans. Tony Francis was solid. He had one of his better games. 14 runs, 172 metres, 8 tackles, 0 missed. And Alofi Khan Pereira, very, very poor defensively. Again, not helped by Brian Kelly. But did have that runaway try showing his speed, so that was cool as well. Yeah. I don't know. I can't really speak too much more on the Titans, and believe me, I wish I could. As I said, I love this team. I'd love to see them doing better, but there's not much to really touch on here. They were just blown off the park by a team that's far better than them, and they're just not playing good footy at the moment, the Titans. For the Bulldogs, really, really good win for them, especially with the outs that they had. We've already mentioned, you know, they came up against the Titans side, missing halves and then losing Weaver. So they had their backs against the wall as well, the Titans, but that doesn't take away from the fact, you know, that the Bulldogs were missing 3 of their best players as well. And I thought they were excellent. They were just across the board. Their defense is still one of the best in the competition, especially against the Titans team who's known for attack. They limited them to only 18 points. 4 tries, to be fair. They just converted only one of those tries, but still really good defense from the Dogs, but their attack is just coming on each and every week. Again, against a really poor defensive side, so I don't know, but you can only play what's in front of you, and they're playing so well, the Bulldogs. I don't know if they can be a premiership side. I don't know what it is about them that I'm still not believing in, because at the moment you can't doubt how they're playing. And as I said, they were fantastic in this game. In terms of standouts, Connor Tracy, one of my absolute favourites. When I mentioned top 5, I'll have to do up a top 5 favourites. Shout out to the Spy over on the SC Playbook for mentioning his top 5. If I had to do a top 5, I don't know if Connor Tracy makes my top 5, but he's fucking damn near it. I love Connor Tracy. I always have had a lot of time for him since he debuted at the Rabbitohs. So I loved him at the Sharks. That's when I really sort of got into him, and I love what he's doing now. But his stats in this game are bonkers. 27 runs, 267 metres, 2 line breaks, 1 try assist, 7 tackle breaks, 1 try. 4 tackles made, 0 missed, 100% tackle efficiency. He is an absolute machine. And again, when people talked about, can the Bulldogs win the comp with Connor Tracy at fullback and Toby Sexton at halfback? Absolutely they can. For me, it's their forward pack, that if they're to win a comp, they need something there, and it might be Leo Thompson next year. But I think Connor Tracy and Toby Sexton, you can 100% win a comp with those players playing their best in their respective jerseys. Sexton's one of the best kickers in the NRL. He has, you know, a couple off the ones every now and then, but he gets better and better each and every week. Toby Sexton was one of the better talents coming through the lower grades, and he's fitting in so well here. And yeah, Connor Tracy, look at those numbers. I know it's against the Titans, but you're going to tell me that a player that can put up those numbers can't be a premiership winning fullback? I'm going to scoff at that. He can absolutely be one. So, yeah, if they're to win a premiership, I don't see why it can't be now. I think maybe next year or the year to come is their real sweet spot. But they're going to challenge, especially the way that they're playing at the moment. Jacob Kiraz, 22 runs, 227 metres, 2 line breaks, 2 line break assists, 1 try assist, 3 tries, and 14 tackle breaks. One of the all-time winger performances. He was unbelievable, and I'm off him because I don't own the freaking super coach. No, I love Jacob Kiraz. He bleeds this club. He, for me, is what the Bulldogs are all about, and I love that he's just thriving the way he is. So, I know Bulldogs fans love him, and how couldn't you? He's so good. Bronson Xerri, really good. Stephen Crichton made our team of the week as well off the bench, very close to starting. He probably should have started, but regardless, I thought he was excellent. Kicking-wise, 6 from 6 from the boot, and 7 from 7, I should say. Got a penalty goal as well. So 14 points, all in goal kicks. 15 runs, 177 metres, 2 line breaks, 2 line break assists, 2 try assists, 4 tackle breaks. I know he was up against Brian Kelly and Alofiana Camperera, who aren't great defensively, and we've already spoken about that. But God, he just gave them a bath. He has so much attack in him. He doesn't show it all the time. He doesn't do 20 runs a game, but 15 runs, 177 metres. This is that sweet spot from Crichton where I want him to be, and I think he can do this consistently. He still goes to show that he's one of, if not the best centre in the NRL. Defensively, we already knew that, but in attack, when he's doing these things, he's just unbelievable as well. I thought he was unbelievable in this game. The only time he got caught out was, in fairness, a really good play from the Titans, that Beau Fermor try, where Fermor started on the inside shoulder and then swung around to the left-hand side, and essentially they just popped the blind ball out to him, and he ran through the space between Crichton and Kiraz and scored a try. But again, that was also a really good play from the Titans. So I don't know if it's necessarily a blight on Crichton, but you could have it if you wanted. Marcelo Montoya also 19 runs, 183 metres. He runs with so much vigour. I wouldn't say we're missing him at the Warriors because we're doing well, but I'd love to have him back. I've always had a lot of time for Marcelo Montoya. The rest of their team, I'm not going to speak about everyone. Max King was really good, 11 runs, 132 metres. I think it was his birthday as well, so shout out Max King. Viliami Fafita, 17 runs, 156 metres. And then the other star of the show for me was Jacob Preston. Did get sin binned and is now looking at 3 weeks on the sideline. I think he's challenging it, so it's either going to be 4 weeks or 0. We'll find out that soon enough. But he was so good. So 13 runs, 109 metres from Jacob Preston. 1 line break assist, 1 try assist, 1 try, 4 tackle breaks, 37 tackles, 1 missed. So that's all good and well reading off the stats. But to explain, if for those who didn't watch the game, or explain how good it actually was in general, his try assist is him hitting a bloody good line, and I can't remember who got in front. It might have been Brimson or someone, but whoever it was got in front and had really good contact, one-on-one contact. He ironed out that smaller man. He got the one-on-one tackle, and it was a great tackle from the smaller man, to be fair. But through that contact, Preston hits and spins, pops a lovely ball to Connor Tracy, who's always scheming around the ruck. And Connor Tracy gets that ball and goes through the gap and scores. But that is just Jacob Preston being one of the best hole runners in the NRL, isolating that smaller man, getting that tackle one-on-one. And as I said, the smaller man, I can't remember who it was. They did a great tackle. They couldn't have done much more, to be fair. But that's the beauty of being a bigger boy in the NRL. If you can isolate the smaller man like that and have that upper body strength to keep that ball, to spin around and offload all in the one hit, it was a fantastic play to do that. And as I said, scored a try as well later on. So I thought he was unreal. We're going to leave it there for the Bulldogs. We're going overtime already, going to our last games now. There's 2 left to go, but yeah, fantastic win from the Bulldogs, cementing themselves in number 1, still on the ladder. Next up, the Panthers beating the Broncos 32-8. So a 2023 grand final rematch, and the Panthers getting the chockies once again. The Broncos, this was a team that I went down on the tips again. I figured the Broncos playing the footy that they're playing like last week, I thought they'd back that up huge. This is at Suncorp, Magic Round. It screams Broncos. It's always, you never know what you're getting from the Panthers this year. but I still thought the Broncos were going to be very, very hard to beat with the way that they were playing. And it turns out they were maybe not hard to beat, maybe not easy to beat, I should say, but they didn't look hard to beat because the Panthers played some of their best footy all year, arguably their best game of the season in this one. They just dismantled the Broncos. And the Broncos, like, they had a good effort. The Panthers just stopped them at every opportunity in defense and then caught them out in every area in attack. The Isaac Tungo try was the first one, and that is Nathan Cleary identifying where the wingers, where the fullback is placed from the Broncos, and doing a beautiful, deft little chip and chase over the top. I know he's a big fan of the podcast, obviously. And then, Isaac Tungo screams onto that and scores a try. Luran Patea, we're going to give a big rap to, but he comes off the bench and he scores I believe it's his first try in the NRL in the 36th minute, just bustling through about 4 Broncos and getting the ball down. All effort. And I genuinely think, so keep in mind the Panthers' first try, 13th minute. Good point of the game to have a try, but then their second isn't until the 36th. So it's just before halftime. The way the players got around Patea when he scored that try, I think that was the moment. They obviously came with a game plan. They were playing good footy up until that point regardless. But when Patea scored that try and this young fella scoring his first through the heart of this Broncos pack, and we know how good this Broncos pack is, for him to do that, you just watch the Panthers players rally around him and get on him and celebrate with him. That was the moment for me that the Panthers were like, we're winning. Look what this young fella has just fucking done to the Broncos. This is our game. We're getting on the back of you. So I'm giving a massive shout out to Patea. He didn't make our team of the week only because of how I structure my team of the week, with a bench player. It had to be Jacob Little because of the 2 tries that he brought out for the Dragons and how good he was. If it wasn't him, it should have been Patea. He was unbelievable for the Panthers. I genuinely think he's solidified himself on the bench. I think on the back of this performance, he definitely should have. I'm just trying to think how it all works with their forward pack. Regardless, he was unbelievable. Let's just read through his stats here before we get back to the rest of the game. So Patea, 28 minutes, 1 try, as we said, 9 runs for 99 metres, 6 tackle breaks in that time, and 19 tackles, 0 missed for the young fella. Absolutely amazing stuff from him. So, as I said, for me, that was the point that the Panthers, they won this game. Well, not won this game, but they knew that this is our game to lose. We're here to play. And then 3 minutes after that, just before halftime, Nathan Cleary, emulates what he did against the Broncos, the exact same try that he scored to beat the Broncos in 2023. He scores that again right before halftime. And it's not to beat the Broncos in a grand final, but it's almost the dagger. 2 more tries followed that in the second half. 2 tries to Tom Jenkins. 2 really good tries. Jenkins had a really good game. But the Patea and Nathan Cleary tries, that was it. They had won the game from that point, in my opinion. So it's just a very, very good victory from the Penrith Panthers. As I said, in terms of standouts, we've talked enough about Patea. Nathan Cleary, let's mention him now. He was fingerprints on absolutely everything. He was unbelievable, as he needs to be. He's the best player in the game, and with the Panthers in this slump, he just needs to keep playing like this. And maybe playing like this is a bit too much because this is just an unbelievable performance. But 15 runs, 110 metres, 2 line breaks, 1 try assist, 1 try, 2 tackle breaks, 20 tackles in defence. Probably kicked for 633 kick meters as well. You can't ask for more from him. To me, he's still the best player in the competition, and games like this just prove that he was in his bag, in his element. He was unbelievable. Tom Jenkins, we mentioned 2 tries in the second half. Sort of didn't really get too much of a notice because, of everything else. And as I said, to me, the Panthers had won this game in the first half. But those 2 tries to Jenkins were really good. I thought Luke Garner genuinely freed him up so much on that side. And 18 runs, 181 metres, 3 line breaks and 2 tries was fantastic. But Luke Garner at centre, by the way, 14 runs, 161 metres, 1 line break, 2 line break assists, 2 try assists, 7 tackle breaks. Thought he was fantastic. 16 runs as well. 16 tackles, 4 missed. So I don't know. It's probably not the team that they use to win a grand final. I don't think Luke Garner finds himself at centre for the rest of the season. But if he's come in there, this second rower sort of bench, player come in there and he's putting in a performance like that, it's got to rally everybody to play like that. If you are the McLean brothers who want to get into this side with all your talent, if Luke Garner, this journeyman, has come in and done this, you need to learn from him and take that in stride and be better. And I think they will. I think that's what the Panthers are all about. And at the moment, definitely keep Garner there. I don't think, as I said, he will stay there for the rest of the season because I don't think you can win a premiership if they are to go on a run and make the finals. I don't think you win a premiership with him there. But to know that he can come in and do this job and play absolutely unreal is so damn good for them. Beyond that, for the Panthers, as I said, I'm going to spend less time on these last few games. I'm really sorry. But yeah, we're running out of time. Isaiah Papali'i was really, really good. Lindsay Smith was good. Liam Henry, I thought, was solid. Isaiah Yeo every week, 80 minutes again, 14 runs, 139 metres and 39 tackles. What can you say, really? But genuinely, and I thought Blaze Talangi as well. I thought he looked really good just in that running game for the Panthers. I think he's building into the season nicely. Still got defensive issues, sure, but I think he will continue to improve. But yeah, just a fantastic game from the Panthers. I still don't know what they're doing finals-wise, if they can make it. That's left to be seen, but if they keep playing like this, they absolutely can, and they absolutely can still be a premiership threat. Over to the Broncos. As I said, it wasn't their night. It wasn't a good game from them, but again, I don't even want to say that they were abysmal. I don't think they were overly poor. They just came up against a Panthers side, essentially just rallied and at the peak of their powers to do everything. The Broncos still tried. They still threw up good numbers. They still had decent shapes out there. The Panthers had answers to everything that they threw at them. When I read you these stats, and again, stats don't tell a full story, but they paint a good picture. 21 runs for 223 metres from Selwyn Cobbo, one line break assist, 10 tackle breaks. He was unbelievable at fullback. People saying that he had a couple errors and just stop. Selwyn Cobbo was great at fullback, especially last week when they needed him to be there. Thought he was great. 13 runs, 134 metres, Katoni Staggs. 20 runs, 161 metres, Shibasaki. 19 runs, 192 metres, Arthurs. Everyone of their back five except Dean Mariner ran for really good metres there. Paddy Carrigan, 23 runs for 201 metres, 47 tackles in 72 minutes. What more can you say there? Payne Haas, 67 minutes, 19 runs, 195 metres, 11 tackle breaks, 1 offload, 38 tackles, 0 missed. Like, these front rowers just went at it and at it. They built a platform and there was just nothing. And as I said, I don't even think the halves were abysmal in Hunt and Reynolds. Like, they had their moments, they had their errors, but even with the platform that was built for them, the Panthers just kept finding answers to turn them away. And I think it's more on the Panthers than it is on the Broncos. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those weeks. As I said, I think the Broncos are a top 8 side this year. Yeah, these games get you a little bit worried about what they can do and, you need to come up with a plan B. I think that's the big problem with the Broncos in this game and in general this season. And you know what? In the last few seasons is when their plan A doesn't work, they don't have an answer. They don't have a plan B. They don't have a plan C. It's just plan A will work and we'll fucking beat you and we'll do it with, pizzazz. And when it doesn't, it's a tough gig. And the Panthers, they found a way to just neutralize that so well in this game. And the Broncos had no answers. So they just need to find a plan B, essentially. When their plan A isn't working, when their game plan isn't working, okay, let's try something new. And with their halves, I thought they very much could do that. They have the experience that they can just be like, okay, this isn't working, we're going to do this now. And they couldn't really do that in this game. So That's the one thing I think the Broncos really need to improve on if they are to be a premiership threat this year. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how they go with that. On to the final game of the round, the Storm and the Raiders. And if the Warriors-Cowboys game wasn't the game of the round, this one was. It was essentially hyped to be the game of the round leading into it because it was first versus third. And it stood exactly where it should have been. It was arguably the game of the round. It was so good. I tipped the Storm, so another one I went down on, but I was very torn on this game. I thought the Raiders, if there was any team that could just unsettle the Storm, it was the Raiders. And they've been doing it to every team this year. The Raiders are absolutely the real deal. Again, do I think they can win a premiership? No. Maybe. I don't think so. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just because I think the Storm will win a premiership. I think the Storm I know that they've lost a couple games here and there and they can be upset. I think when it comes to finals time with the roster that they have and the players they have, they will win the premiership. But games like this from the Raiders, what more can you ask from them? They were unbelievable. They just... it's just special. Coming down to the final 5 minutes of the game, KO Weeks, who has been pretty quiet this year. It's not really what you typically see out of a fullback, and everybody says you need your fullback to be a superstar to win a premiership. And KO Weeks hasn't done, or isn't a superstar, hasn't done all that much. But then he comes up with plays like this and makes a break with his speed and chips over the top of Pappenhausen. And Pappenhausen saw it coming, by the way. Pappenhausen had turned and started to sprint back to chase this ball before it had even been kicked. And KO Weeks still got there first with his speed and scored the try. Pappenhausen came out with would have been heralded. If you guys go back and watch that, Pappy gets there as, Weeks is diving over and he goes to hit the ball out of Weeks' hand and he almost gets it. It would have been, I don't want to take anything away from the Raiders, but I almost wish it happened because far out, it would have just been the greatest play I've seen for a long time. But in saying that, we got to see the KO Weeks, as I said, the game-winning chip and chase, the speed, everything about it, the way the Raiders celebrated, the way the fans celebrated, it was so special. I'm loving the Raiders. I love how they're playing their footy this year. They absolutely have that mixture of grit and grind. They have one of the best forward packs in the NRL, and then they have spark in the speed of Xavier Savage, the tackle busting and work ethic of Savelio Tamale. Their centers are playing outstanding. And then, as we just said, KO Weeks with that game-winning try, he's got that X factor. They've got it. And I haven't even mentioned Ethan Strange, who is getting better and better and better with every game. He runs the ball with so much vigor. He's got to be so hard. You know, when they used to do the whole who's the hardest player in the NRL to tackle, I get the feeling Ethan Strange would get a lot more shouts. If they were to do that today, Ethan Strange would get so many more shouts than people give him credit for because he runs so hard. He has a really good step. He has a really good bump. He will hit you and he's just nuggety and shrug you away. He's playing so good, Ethan Strange. Haven't obviously missed the last 2 weeks with my time off, so didn't get a comment on him when he was doing amazing things over that time. But yeah, wanted to give him his flowers in this one. For his last few weeks, he was great. And even in these ones, one line break assist, 1 try assist, 8 runs, 53 meters. Yeah, just loving what Ethan Strange is doing. But in general, I'm loving what this Raiders team is doing. And I'm so happy to see them doing this. They've always had a soft spot for me. When I mention teams I like, the first team, I'll admit, that was my favourite team when I was a young kid, when I wasn't really following footy, was the Raiders. I went to Canberra and met the players. Alan Tongue was my favourite, also a Farah boy. So, going to school at Farah, looked up to Alan Tongue a lot as well. Players like Laurie Daly, all these players that I met. It was snowing in Canberra and just meeting these players on this excursion as a young kid. They were my first team. Again, it was before I really got into footy, but I've always had that soft spot for them because of all that. And I just love the way that they've always played their footy. I'm so happy to see them doing well, and to see this win was just so special. How good is rugby league? How good was this Magic Round? How good is the competition this year? This was It was so good. Let's it's enough glazing of them. As I said, just the way that they play their footy, I knew it could have been the game to upset the Storm. They just have a style of play about them that can do that. We've always said that the Raiders, they bring you down to their level, and that's not down to their level to say that they're worse than any other team, but you have to play their style of footy, and there's not many teams that can play their style of footy as good as they do. Their forward pack is unbelievable. And the Storm, they have a bloody good forward pack this year. It's been light on the last couple. I think it's really good this year. But yeah, this Raiders team is something different. Like their forwards here, Corey Horsburgh, 13 runs, 103 metres, and that was only in 49 minutes because he had a HIA. Joseph Tarpany, 14 runs, 146 metres, 43 tackles as well in that time. I think he had 100 offloads as well. Where's the offload? Yeah, 3 offloads from him. Hudson Young, 21 runs, 154 metres, 2 offloads himself, 28 tackles. Matty Nicholson, only 10 runs for 70 metres, but also 42 tackles, 0 missed. And that's not even mentioning like Zach Hosking, who's one of my favourites coming off the bench. Love how he plays his footy. It's not mentioning Josh Papali and Adam Mariota, they brought so much energy off the bench. It's not mentioning Morgan Smithies, who has been very underrated this year. Like, they've got, across the park, enough strike power to win a comp. Can Jamal Fogarty be a premiership-winning halfback? Yes. The way he's playing his footy, absolutely he can. Can KO Weeks be a premiership-winning fullback? Maybe not, but why not? Like, if he's coming out with plays like this and games like this, like, what are his stats? 21 runs, 198 metres, 1 line break, 6 tackle breaks, and of course the match-winning try against the Melbourne Storm. If you're putting up numbers like that against the Melbourne Storm, why can't you do that on a grand final? The Melbourne Storm will probably be in the grand final. If you're doing it now, do it 20 fucking weeks from now and you've won a comp. So I believe in this Raiders team and I love what they're doing. I probably should have talked about the Storm first because now we've used all this energy of being, we're so high on the Raiders. We love the Raiders. What a fucking game. And we'll talk about the Storm now. They weren't bad. So it's not like I'm going to go from the highest energy and then finish on the lowest energy. The Storm were good. To me, they're still the premiership favourites. They're still my tip for the team that will win the comp. I think they're such a smart footy side. So there's the Suafolongo, and let's speak a little bit about Suafolongo right now. He's still very raw. He's probably not quite ready to be a consistent first grader yet, but far out is he a special talent, and we've known this for a few years now. He moves as good as anyone in the entire competition. The run he made up the gut, beating about 4 or 5 Raiders defenders before being tackled just short of the line by KO Weeks, and just the way he just moved as he's being, there's contact coming from everywhere and he's just moving through it all simultaneously. He's so special. But yeah, there's that movement. There's the one where he makes the break on the right-hand side later on and then kicks it back inside for Pappy. Again, if you watch that front-on view and the slow-mo, just the way he sums it up, the way he's at full pace, by the way, holds the ball, connects with the ball as a fullback winger to be doing that at pace and to get it right on the chest of Pappenhausen. It's so much skill. It's so much talent to be able to do that. And he's got it just by the bucket load. And then he also scored a try later in the game as well. Like, he had a fantastic game, Falongo, 14 runs, 204 metres, 3 line breaks, 1 try assist, 5 tackle breaks, and 1 try. But yeah, let's go back to that first one where he got tackled by KO Weeks after making the break and beating 5 defenders. The way that the Storm, and specifically Cameron Munster, sum up that play straight after is why I think that this team will still win a premiership. They're just such a smart footy side. So Munster sums it up after that break that there's going to be space to the left. And of course there is. There always is. Most footy teams know that and they will spread it. But instead of spreading it, it goes to Munster, and he just kicks it across to his outside backs on the other side of the field. And it's just something that very few teams or very few players would be able to do. When you consider how frantic everyone is, like the entire game is, every player is, after a break like that, and the pressure of a packed Magic round to just get the ball after that when everybody's like, give it to me, there's space here, there's shouting everywhere from both teams, from fans everywhere, to just get the ball from that dummy half after that break. And it's like he's got all the time in the world. He just kicks it over the top. Perfect little kick. They almost stuff it up. They let it bounce. They probably shouldn't have let it bounce, but Grant Anderson ends up collecting it and scoring that try. And yeah, it's just the way he can stay composed through all that frantic nature, through all the chaos, and puts it on a bloody absolute platter for Grant Anderson. It's just, I love the way Munster plays, and it just sums up how the Storm play. They're so smart. And yeah, I don't think they were bad in this one at all. This was just one of the best games of the round, one of the best games of the season. And the Raiders got the better of them with a final try that just made an absolute classic of a football game. Doesn't mean that the Storm were bad. They did have some moments which were very bad. Well, not very bad, but just uncharacteristic, I should say. Just watching, I think, like, to close out the first half, they just had a few errors that were just really poor. Even to start the second half, they made a shift out of their own end, and then they passed it to Pappenhausen, and he just dropped it absolutely cold. And those are just uncharacteristic Storm errors, and the best sides in the comp will make you pay for it, and the Raiders did today. The Storm didn't deserve to win, not because they were really poor, but because the Raiders made them pay for those errors, and that's the hallmark of a good footy side. In terms of standouts for the Storm, though, we've already mentioned Farlongo. We mentioned how good Cameron Munster was, and that wasn't even including his running game. 13 runs for 120 metres. He was so dangerous out there. Pappenhausen scoring in his 100th game with that try on his chest. Love the way he plays, but also 24 runs, 205 metres from him, 1 line break, 3 tackle breaks as well. I thought he was really good. Xavier Coates and Suafalonga, we've already mentioned. The wingers, really good. Coates, 21 runs, 159 metres from him. And Trent Liero, I thought, was really good. He went toe-to-toe with, I think it was Corey Horsburgh. Yeah, it was Corey Horsburgh. And I just liked the battle that they had, not backing down at all. It was also the only Storm forward to run for over 100 metres. I think that is something that they do need to improve on. They need to be getting a bit more out of Stefano. Only 42 minutes in this game, 9 runs, 81 metres. I want more out of him. Sean Bloor and Eli Katoa, 9 runs for 90 metres and 11 runs for 90 metres. You can live with it. You want more out of them as well. But I think it's just that forward pack they need to be getting more out of. But it's hard to do it against the Raiders, as I've said, who have arguably the best forward pack in the comp. But again, I'm not putting too much on this game. It wasn't the Storm's best, but they were far from a poor side. They just came up against a Raiders side who knew how to beat them, and they went out and did that. So yeah, I'm just going to close that there on positive vibes for both of these sides. They're both still top 4 sides at the moment. I think Storm are now dropped to 4th, while Raiders are into 2nd. I think the top 4 is now Bulldogs, Raiders, Warriors, Storm. And that's probably in form how it should all be. I think the Storm probably are a better side than the Warriors. They flogged us a few weeks ago, to be fair. But I think all of those sides are shoo-ins to make the top 8. And at the moment, they do look like the outright top 4 sides in the comp. They're playing at a higher standard than everyone else. And yeah, for me, I'm loving how this competition's unfolding. I love that anyone can beat anyone. And it's just, for me, yeah, I still think the Storm are the best team in the comp. I think top to bottom, their squad's just better than everyone else, and they have that experience. But you've got games like this where they're being upset. You've got games like the Dragons who can upset them. Another one, I think the Panthers or someone beat them. I can't remember. But there are games and teams out there who can do it. No team is looking unbeatable like the Panthers in the last few years. And it's making for such a good competition. So I hope everybody out there who's listening, I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. It's good to be back recording. I do feel, accomplished for doing this one. So it's good to be back. Hopefully cut these down a bit more than an hour and 44 minutes this one's gone for. So let's get that down a little bit more in the coming weeks. But yeah, good to be back. Thank you guys for tuning into this one. And I'll see you guys next time.